Welcome, everybody, to Lionz Den, episode 7. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate some of the comments. There's been a lot of real positive stuff being said, both personally and also in the comment section. But please subscribe, like. Feel free to put anything on there. Like I said, been seeing a lot of great stuff. Again, my name's Eddy.
And this is Daryl.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Bill.
So we have our guest appearance by Bill again. There was a lot of great stuff said about Bill from the last two about addiction. Unfortunately, Alex's little girl's been feeling a little under the weather, so wasn't able to make it. So we'll have Bill in. And then I also think in a couple coming up, you're going to be out too, Brad, right?
Yeah.
Why are you going to be out?
Getting married.
Dang.
Nice.
Congrats.
So, yeah, Brad's going to be getting married soon, so we'll have we'll have Bill in on that, too. So, for today, what we want to talk about is The Devil Made Me Do It. And kind of what it came up with is, I'm sure everybody kind of remembers what happened at the Grammys. Mm-hmm. So, Will Smith, Chris Tucker makes a joke. Will Smith walks up.
Chris Rock.
Sorry, Chris Tucker.
Hey, man.
Will Smith walks up, slaps the shit out of him in national TV. And a lot of things obviously have ensued since then. A lot of different opinions, a lot of different takes on it. One of the interesting things that I thought about with it, among many, was we all kind of saw Denzel Washington approach him pretty quick and kind of made a comment to him that, hey, when things are at its peak, you know, the devil comes for you. And it made me think about that a lot because throughout my life, you always kind of hear, devil made me do it. It was the devil's fault. It wasn't me. The devil took over, all this type of stuff. And, you know, we're not talking about exorcism or any of the Exorcist or any of those type of movies. But I thought it was kind of an important topic to talk about. You know, we obviously been talking about God. What do we see the devil as? What kind of role does it play in our lives and anyone's lives? Is it a cop-out? Is it legit? So I thought it was kind of an interesting topic, especially within that arena. And I know how Denzel Washington meant it. He just kind of meant when things are going really well, it's when you're going to be tested, which I thought was extremely appropriate for that moment. But again, just thought it was kind of an important topic. For me personally, it's not that I definitely believe there's a devil. I don't believe he's got the pointy ears and the pointy tail and the pitchfork thing. I think that the devil's kind of there to antagonize, tempt, you know, kind of the thing of the devil and the angel on your shoulder. I don't know if he's exactly a protagonist or even if it's even a being, or is the devil something that's within us, kind of the same way as God. But what I know is he takes a bad rap for everything, kind of gets blamed for everything. And so I just thought it would be important to talk about it a little bit. So what do you kind of think about that, Daryl?
I agree. I think for the topic, like The Devil Made Me Do It, has a lot of layers to it. I think that people say that without saying it in so many different ways. So a lot of times when people do something and when you really start having someone kind of dig into why they did whatever it is that they did, a lot of times you get a lot of I don't knows, you know, or I was in the moment, or it was this, and all of that kind of falls back on the same thing that the devil made me do it. It's a way to push off the responsibility of what you did, or accept the consequences, or really accept the actions of you doing something.
Accountability.
Yeah, it's a shedding accountability.
No, I definitely agree with that.
That's how I see it. We talked about the what was it, the Oscars, right?
Yeah, Oscars. Yeah,
Oscars. Yeah, it was Oscars.
Yeah. Shows
Academy
how much I know
Award.
about them when I say Grammy.
Yeah, Grammy.
Yes,
yeah.
no, it's Oscars.
Oscars.
Right.
So
I don't watch TV.
Me neither.
So.
Grammys, music, Oscars, movies. Yeah. But with that,
all I know is somebody got the shit slapped out of him.
Yeah, Chris Rock's face hurt. But no, with that, I do think that we talked about like being violent before. I think that's accountability on Chris Rock's end too, and I would not necessarily say if it was me in either one of those shoes, the devil did make me do whatever it is I did. I think that if you do things, consequences lies with those things that you do. And sometimes the consequences is that you can get your face slapped. And I think if a lot of people thought about that before they did and said things, we would have less of those occurrences. Do I think it was appropriate? I don't know. It's not me. But as a defender of my family, I would slap somebody over my wife, children, and kids for less than that.
Right.
But I come from a different world and a different cloth than Will Smith and Chris Rock. So,
and I remember we kind of talked about it the next day. I mean, me personally, slapping somebody is sending a very certain message. Anytime I've slapped somebody, it's because you're not physical enough for me to actually punch, so I'm just going to slap you. So that's extremely demeaning. You're on a national stage, even more demeaning. You're in front of all your peers, even more demeaning. So, I remember we talked about it at the time. For me, feel just like you. I have no problem slapping the shit out of somebody if they got it coming. But I think for what was said, what was done was way over the top in that environment. But like you said, who knows what Will Smith was thinking? I know he's apologized since. Again, don't want to get into a big debate about it. We're just kind of talking about it because of what Denzel Washington said. And it gets used in that context a lot. And again, I don't think Denzel meant it as an excuse or that the devil took over him. He was just kind of letting him know that, hey, man, when you're on the top, you're going to get tested. Yeah,
I like the way he worded it, and I felt it was appropriate for that situation.
Brad, what do you think?
I think there's a lot into this, really. The devil made me do it phrase itself. Personally, it seems the devil tends to show up when you're spiraling. It's like he kind of knows things in your world aren't so great, and whatever facet it is, and you almost have that mindset of I'm spiraling anyway. It's a bad idea, but since you're spiraling, it's kind of like let's see where this goes.
Right.
I almost kind of again, I don't know the situation either. I wasn't there. I'm obviously not Will Smith, but
you weren't at the Oscars?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. They didn't lost my invite, jerks. But I think you tend to wonder somebody like that. Maybe there's a lot going on in his world and life and whatever in that moment. I've been in plenty of fights that are kind of impulse. Usually I fire some warning shots first, but I think maybe in his mind it was just, it was the right thing to do, whatever the reasoning behind it. But you tend to wonder if there was more there that let those thoughts become okay. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
And I think for sure if I'm not mistaken, there was some abuse in the home with the mom and the dad. So I think there's definitely protectiveness that's done in that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kind of the whole basis of this topic is there's accountability for that. And like I said, if you're going to go down that road for both parties, that's something that's never going to be forgotten. There's memes on it, video over and over again. We're still hearing about it, however long ago it was.
Yes.
Kind of, Will Smith was one of those guys that always carried himself very well and always did, great by himself, and definitely took a lot of that.
Me personally,
nostalgia, that view of him off.
I was already a big fan of Will Smith, so I was somebody I always watch his movies. I grew up watching The Fresh Prince, and that made me like him even more because it made him a more rounded human being. Because it showed flaws in his relationship and flaws in his decision making. So, anytime somebody shows a level of humanity and realness, being human, that makes me like that person anymore, because we have this idea where people have to be squeaky clean, and that's not real. Nobody's squeaky clean.
Sure.
So a lot of times we spend a lot of time, not we, but especially like celebrities, politicians, people that we see on TV and online and stuff, they spend a lot of time and a lot of money hiring people to polish the appearance that we get. And every once in a while, it breaks through, and you get to see a glimpse of that person, that really who that person is. Not that Will Smith is somebody that goes around slapping people, but that he deals with the same emotions and things that we deal with in certain scenarios, which causes us to act outside our normal character every day. So that it humanized him for me, which made me an even bigger fan.
Bill?
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you talk about the devil made me do it. It's kind of, the most things in life is when we talk about spirituality has been written in parables, So it seems like there's a couple ways in life you could really go about your life. You can either follow away whatever you find that makes you have personal growth, and then there's also that way that creeps its head up and sets you back. And, I watched that. I seen him do it, and my old reaction was, I probably would have did the same thing. And then then I thought, like, well, what's going on with him? Why did he end up doing that? What's going on in his life? What happened? Is his wife really that sick?
Right.
And that really Chris Rock didn't know it, or do they have a beef between each other? Maybe that's why he ended up doing it. I really don't know the reason for that. I know if I'm thinking of the devil made me do it, I'm thinking if I murder somebody or if, I'm doing something that's really detrimental to myself, I could say that's what it is. But it's really me doing it. I'm the one doing it to me. And then if I get off of that path and I'm walking the other way, then I'm living the path that I want to. For me, it's just about, what's personal growth at my age right now. It's like, how peaceful do I really want to be? I think there's guys that I know that are pretty close to me that I would like to slap in the face. Some of you guys know who they are. And I'm thinking, I probably feel bad about it. I've always done that. I've hit people in the past, and I felt bad. I want to pick them up. And
right.
Why did I do that? What was the reason for that? And then you got to hate. Then you see this person again. Your life's miserable around it. It's like Daryl said. It's accountability, man. You walk a certain way, but hey, there's days I go to work and I'm tired and something's going on, and somebody says something to me, and I open my big mouth like I'm a lunatic, and then I sit back and I go, where did that come from? Well, that's definitely not the devil. That's just something's going on with me that I can't put my finger on yet.
Sure.
That's a good way to put it. I do want to point out that we talked about the topics we were going to discuss tonight before we did, and Bill decided to get a brand new red shirt when we said that the devil made me do it. So he wanted to make sure.
It's a coincidental.
It's a coincidental. Yeah, I knew it, yeah.
Brad, I know there was something you wanted to say.
All you guys brought it up. Flaws and accountability. I kind of feel almost that devil made me do it is also a way to just blanket, statement over, instead of saying I'm flawed, or instead of taking accountability, it's just
right.
a way of just, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I said that. The devil made me do it. Maybe it is more that off the cuff expression, but but when you look deep into it, it really is. Maybe there's, we don't know what's going on with people. We don't know what's going on with Will Smith. We don't know what's going on your day, or, those people that tend to just snap, or,
Well, he made a comment, and he's definitely on a growth. I think he's definitely on a growth spurt, in his life, because he made a comment like, I need to do some work.
Yeah.
Like he knew that wasn't right.
For
something
sure.
triggered him. Mm-hmm. That's all you can ask of us, or me anyway. That's all I can ask of myself. Am I continually looking at myself, and why am I uncomfortable in this certain situation? What can I do to do better? Not just be status quo like everybody else. For me, that's what I think he's doing that. I really do.
Well, and I really thought that's why it was such an important topic, because there's just so many facets to it of the devil made me do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of what we're talking about. Easy way to not be accountable for your actions. Well, it wasn't really me. I don't know what happened. Devil took over. I think it's interesting to look at, is there any truth to that? So is there this devil character that's coming within us and kind of overtaking our thought process or actions?
Some people believe that.
And I know for sure some people believe that. Again, I personally don't. Do I think that there's evil entities out there? Do I think that there's temptations and things messing with us, be it energy, powers? Absolutely. But I still, with absolute conviction, believe that at the end of the day, you're making that choice. Now, again, I'm not talking about anybody has any type of mental disability or has any type of sickness, schizophrenia, or anything that where, there could be some things that are going on beyond that, which is definitely not the devil. It's just some mental different things going on. But I think it's an excuse that's used a lot. I've heard it throughout my life. I've heard it with people that do horrible things to people, and I really think it's just a way of not being accountable for your actions. And again, that's really why I wanted to talk about it, why I think it's interesting to look at. What I find fascinating about it is, as often as I've heard people say that for the shitty things we do, it's seldom ever that when we do something great, it's the God made me do it. It's usually, hey, I did that. And,
they'll write a
I'm the
book.
one that. So I think it's kind of,
That's a good
we're
point.
super happy to blame the devil for when we're accountable, but if it's something good, we don't want to give God His grace.
Accountability is easy when it's positive.
Right.
It's real good.
It was all me.
Yep, that's a commonality. Anybody can fess up to something that they did that's receiving praise.
Right.
But if it's receiving any kind of questioning or even more so negative consequences or consequences in general, then being accountable for that is not an easy task.
For sure.
I mean, I definitely know that there's a right way to do things for me, because all of us here have different ideas on what's right for each other. Mm-hmm. But there is definitely a way to do things the wrong way and a way to do things the right way. And that, I think we all have that, intuition?
Definitely.
That I had never been in tune with in my entire life. I kind of numbed that out. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I got that intuition where it's like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, or, this doesn't seem to be right. Before, I'd never heard it. It was like, what's that? I just went along with what everybody else was doing. But there's definitely, if you're in the growth, man, there's definitely a way of getting through this big rock of a planet that's spinning at 2 billion miles an hour or whatever it is, and to get through this place, man, because this place is rough.
And I think intuition is such an important way of putting it, because if I could ever explain it, my personal belief is you kind of have that God DNA in you, and you have some of that devil DNA in you, and it's a daily choice of which way you decide to go. Mm-hmm. God's our creator. The reality is, if the devil exists, he only exists because God wants him around. So why would that be? If it's not meant for us to grow. And if it's not meant for us to learn and be tested and tempted and all those other things, I think the danger with it is if you're blaming something, you're kind of putting a stunt to that evolution or that growth, because, it wasn't me and the devil did it. Or, I don't know, the devil overcame me, and next thing I know, I was slapping the shit out of people, or, whatever craziness.
Excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
I think also there's that yin and yang. You can't have good without evil. You can't appreciate the good without evil or darkness, or you can't appreciate that good and that light. So there's definitely, like you said, there's that darkness is out there. It exists. Whether you let it come in and use it as an excuse for actions that probably aren't too proper, then it's on you again. It's that accountability,
right?
Well, there's definitely a lot of truth to that. Imagine somebody has everything and just doesn't feel like they have enough. It
happens a lot.
They have no idea of how good they got it, and they just keep looking for more and more and more, and they can't find it. And all of a sudden, somebody walks up to that person and says something to him, and all of a sudden he stops for a minute, takes a deep breath, and all of a sudden realizes, hey, wait a minute, I got good stuff. And on the flip side, and we've had a talk about this today earlier, there's people that can come into your life that could literally ruin you. And no matter how peaceful you are or how spiritual you think you are, it could suck you right back in. It just sucks the life out of you, some people, and it's funny how that is. And I believe in God. I mean, God's been talked about for how many thousands of years? You guys would know more about it than I do. I mean, I've just been on this path for, the last 30 years. But, I mean, it's been everybody in the history's thought that there was something going on besides it. But, it ain't in the church for me at this point. I don't find God in church. I find him when I'm riding my bike, or I'm sitting by water, or I'm in a forest, or probably you guys will go fishing and feel his presence there.
Never seen Bill in the forest.
Yeah, you ain't gonna see me. You're gonna see me going out of a hotel room. I gotta have a shower. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of whatever it takes to get you through this thing, man. Is that's really all it's about. How am I going to get through this? Because it goes by fast. Life is extremely short. And what do you want to be remembered as when you get out? And what people are going to talk about you when you leave? I think that's important. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's super important.
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that, almost like a legacy and how you want to be remembered. You know, I don't think anybody wants to be remembered as a dark or evil or, you know, that type of, you know, the devil made me do it, you know, so it's very, you know, I think we're all aware, just like we're aware that there is that higher power or our creator or whatever, but it is very easy just to shut that off.
No doubt about it.
Let those dark thoughts in, and then I think once they're in, and one dark thought, one devil made me do it excuse for something you know isn't right, you know, leads. It's almost like that snowball effect, you know, just turns into these bigger and bigger and bigger things, and then you're just justifying all of it. So.
Has anybody in here done anything wrong and has benefited from it? No, I haven't. Never. I tried to steal something when I was 10 years old and I got caught. I mean, I couldn't get away with anything, man. So, I've never done anything bad and that I benefited from it. Never.
Well, I think, just like based off of things we know, that there's things that happen that are wrong where there's an instant so-called benefit of it. But I don't think that whatever gains you benefit from don't outweigh the consequences that may come later.
For sure.
So,
yeah, for sure.
You know, it's a give and a take, and a lot of times the consequences that come later are far more than whatever you benefited at the time. You know, but it's hard to see that.
That's a good point. I think most of us kind of have a past with a lot of different things, and at the time it seemed right, and now older, wiser, different mindset, you look back on that stuff and you're like, that, you know, there's regret there. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what, and I was actually really curious to talk to Daryl about it the next day when that happened. One, when I first saw it, I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was real. And then when I was like, oh, shit, that really just happened, my initial instinct was same as Daryl felt. Like, hey, that's my wife. I'm going to protect mine. You know, I'm not going to be disrespected. I'm definitely not going to let my wife be disrespected on national television. So when I was looking at that, you know, I definitely understood kind of where he was coming from. And then, you know, like 10 minutes passed, and I was like, ooh, you know, I was in front of a lot of people, national audience. Was that bad, what he really said? Did you have to take it to that level? How did that make him look? And then it was like maybe, because I wasn't even watching it, and I think I got an alert or something, and I saw it, and then I tuned in. And then he won for Best Actor, and now you got to go back up and accept that, and that whole thing was weird. Now you're taking focus off the movie that he made, the performance that he made, the Williams sisters, the father, and all that stuff, that it just made kind of the whole thing yucky. And again, more than anything, you know, Chris Rock is a comedian. That's what he's there to do. How out of pocket that was that he said. You know, it's kind of what we're talking about with everything. That's a big price to pay. That's a big thing to put somebody through. You'd have to say some pretty serious stuff. And kind of to Bill's point, as you get older and you start evolving, you start realizing those consequences and the price to that. You know, what could kind of come from that.
I mean, I'm older and I'm a lot less, what I want to say, I'm not as much of a goon as I used to be, to just be blunt about it. And when I saw it, this is one of the few things we differ on. I was just like, yeah, Chris Rock got slapped. I mean, and I'm a believer that people need to be slapped. I don't think that everybody just has to get slapped, but I feel that things that you do can result in a slap. And I don't care if you're a judge, a senator, the president, a king, a prince, anything. if you do something out of pocket and it warrants a slap for the person that felt disrespected, then that's on you to either accept it or do a better job at what it is that caused the slap. So if you're a comedian and what you did was meant to be funny, but it was offensive enough for somebody to hit you, you might need to rework your delivery.
Right.
Because you don't know how people are going to take things. So go in there knowing that this might get my face slapped. And if it does, you have, just like Will Smith has to own the consequences of slapping Chris Rock.
Sure.
Chris Rock has to own the consequences of what he said to get slapped. So the thing about me is that I try to be even across the board. And so I went about my day. I was like, yeah, he got slapped. I don't know if I would have slapped him. Maybe. I don't know if I would have went on stage and slapped him. Me, because I wanted to, I've told you guys before, I'm really violent. I would wait until we're having the Academy Awards dinner.
Right.
And slap the dog shit out of him.
Which would have been, I think, more appropriate.
More appropriate, but then if you go to court for something like that, that's added aggravation. They're like, so you sat and you waited, knowing that you were going to slap him when you got the first course meal. I was like, yes, and so now they're going to look at that because it's not like in the moment it wasn't a thing of passion that you did right then.
Right.
And so it's a consequence of that. Me, I would wait, and then when I got enough time to actually wind up and then just tear his face off, I would do it. And that doesn't make it right. I'm not saying that's the way Will Smith should have did that or anybody, but I'm saying that both ends have things that they have to accept. Will Smith has to accept that. People are not happy that he did that at that event in that setting. Chris Rock has to accept that he did something, said something that caused his face to get slapped. And if they both do that, everybody can go on about their day. I was perfectly fine because I grew up seeing people getting slapped, and I've definitely slapped some people. So it's just one of those things.
Right.
Oh, in this environment, because people are so sensitive, man, what would have happened if it was Don Rickles years ago and he was worse than what Chris Rock was? Oh, my God, he was brutal.
Slapped Don Rickles, too.
It was just a different climate. Now,
I slapped Don Rickles today.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I don't know what Will Smith was thinking, and believe me, I don't have the power to know, but I guess he was defending his wife's honor.
That's how he felt, I think, in the moment. I think.
Because she has, what's the word for it?
Whatever it is.
Something.
Alopecia.
Alopecia, and he made a comment about G.I. Jane, and, he tripped out and he went after him. And the older I get, the younger me would have felt the same way. The older I get, I would have got him, like you said, for me, I would have met him afterwards and I would have had a conversation with him about it. And if he would have apologized or would have been kind of contrite about it, then I would have let it go. If Chris Rock would have kind of said, got in his face like you're too sensitive and stuff, well, then, something else might have happened. You know what I mean?
Do you believe that if people do things to you and this is a legitimate question, I mean, you all can tell me this, do you believe that if people do something to you that may be offensive or that, you don't like or that offends somebody that you care for or love, that an apology fixes it?
I think it definitely depends on the circumstance, what's going on, and
comedians, they cross the line all the time. I mean, my God, I watch them.
So they can cross the line, but not you.
It's a show. It's a show. I know where you're going with this, and I get it.
I mean, me personally, you would never catch me dead in a comedy show.
Or sit in
I
the front
will
row.
slap the shit out of somebody.
Or sit in the front row at a comedy show.
I've been around it. Yeah. I'm the guy that they're going to talk smack about, and there is going to be a fight. So I don't put myself in that environment. I think for that, that's what it is. That's what it always kind of been. They're always kind of, and they've been way worse in the past. I mean, there's stuff where I was like, that's kind of the thing with comedy. And I think you're 100%. I mean, I'm a very firm believer that there are consequences to our actions, and that if you're going to put that stuff out there, you're going to say something about somebody, there's consequences to that. I just think the environment, the amount of attention that's being put on that, how many people are watching it, all of that, just nothing positive was going to come from that. You know, it's just a tough. I felt bad, honestly, for both of them.
I think there are consequences. It's an interesting point of there's consequences on both sides, you know. I also think kind of like what Bill was talking about, you know, the older we get, the more life experience you have. And, you know, young Brad would pop off and not think anything about it and feel that embarrassment, you know, like after you kind of come down from, you know, going off on somebody or whatever, you kind of realize it's uncomfortable for other people in the room. So you kind of feel that energy or those stares or that embarrassment or, you know, you do that enough and you learn like, maybe I do wait, you know, pull them off to the side. And is an apology going to fix it? I don't, probably not. But depending on the apology you get, and if it seems sincere, you know, maybe use that opportunity as a warning, you know. But again, I feel like the older you get in these situations, the more you realize right from wrong, good from bad, which is kind of what we're talking about. The, you know,
the devil and the angel.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Rock's been doing this act for how long, and it hasn't changed. So he's been in comedy for a long time.
He's been in comedy, yeah.
And he does the same routine over and over again. He picks people out of the audience and makes stuff like that. And all of a sudden, Will wasn't in a good place. Will wasn't in a good place.
The joke wasn't funny enough.
Well, Will wasn't in a good place, and
almost like slap the shit out of him.
Daryl's, I know, Daryl. No,
I'm all about saying stuff about.
So wait.
I'm all about comedians playing the audience. But the thing
you want to do stand up.
And the thing is this: you have to be funny. D.L. Hughley played his whole show. He would pick out on the audience, and he would flame people up. The thing about it is, you can say some extremely offensive stuff. If it's funny, you're gonna go. If it's not funny, your face could hurt. So the point for me is just simple as the simplest thing I can come up with is apparently it wasn't as funny as he thought.
There's a guy at work that rags on me every single day.
And it's funny.
And it's the guy sitting over there. Every day he gives me,
hilarious.
because I'm old man Bill, right? All day long. It never stops. But I know where it's coming from. It doesn't bother me. 25 years ago it would bother me.
Well,
You know.
and kind of to Daryl's original point is there apology? Or, to me, everything is always about intent. And in a lot of ways, that's what we're talking about. The devil made me do it, or giving God his grace. However what's the intention in what you're doing? And what are you really trying to send home? And we've talked about it a lot. To me, violence is a control. That's all it is. You're not teaching anybody anything about it. You're not going to send. No one's going to be enlightened because you got violent or any of that. It's a means of control. And it's in a very effective means of control. We've all used it.
This conversation's kind of funny. In my head, I'm going, well, maybe Chris Rock was wrong. Maybe Will Smith was wrong.
Well, and that's why
you don't know what the circumstances are. Did Chris Rock say something
previous
6 months ago?
No, for sure.
That made him mad. Is this just an ongoing battle, or where does it come from? You know, I guess for each one of us, we have if your life is better by slapping somebody, then I guess go out and slap away. But for me, my life's never been any good with violence. It's just and I'm not an angel, man. I got a long way to go, man. And probably when I'm dead, I'm still going to have to learn. But I don't know. I just want to be more relaxed. I just don't want to do all this stuff. I can't. It gives me a headache going through this stuff. You know.
So one of the things I look at too is like, for me and my upbringing, just my upbringing in general, and then my military background, you have things like, one of the things that we used to talk about, and I thought about it, and it's really true, is that as a man, you never want to get to that point where you are no longer a threat. You know, and any male creature, lions, anything, you don't want to be considered as a non-threat. So for me, the offense comes to when, if I'm somewhere and anybody feels that they can say something about my wife specifically, I'm divorced now, but just say like my wife specifically, that means that my level of threat is very low. He said he did a risk assessment, And he said, in this risk assessment, I can say whatever I'm going to say about Daryl's wife, and the likelihood of me having to deal with something afterwards is minimal, so send it. So for me, that's a level of disrespect. And this is putting a lot of thought into it, because one of the things, and we talked about this the first day, Eddie, I was like, so replace Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, keep Chris Rock there, and replace Will Smith and Jada with Mike Tyson and his wife. Does Chris Rock deliver that joke? I don't know. We don't know.
Right.
But as a person, Mike Tyson just punched somebody on the airport the other day, and he was totally justified because somebody felt like, oh, this is Mike Tyson. He's not going to hit me. And then they were wrong, because you can't push people just because of where you are, a scenario, or who they are, and say and do things and feel that you have a level of protection. You know, people need to be hit. So, and Mike Tyson got off that plane and didn't receive any charges because that person egged him on. And then
well, and I think it ended up being he threw something at him.
Ended up throwing some water at him.
There was something physical
he initiated,
with that. Mm-hmm. So we at Lionz Den don't want to advocate slapping the shit out of people.
I'm not advocating slapping people.
Punching people in the face in the airport or any... And, I mean, we've all been here. I mean, that was actually one of the first things we talked about when we were talking about putting the Lionz Den together. And even with Bill coming in and guesting, I mean, he boxed, he was fighting and all that type of stuff. You know, I think it's interesting to look at. And like Bill, I go back and forth with it. I found it really interesting for myself that within 15 minutes of it, I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because it's just such a tough circumstance, and again, on that kind of stage. And also, again, for me, it's intention. So anytime I'm getting physical with somebody, it's to send them a message that I'm in control. And that's why I said earlier, violence is a means of control. What's going on in Russia and Ukraine is control. It's Russia saying, I'm going to do what I want, and you're going to do what I want you to do. Any war is. So anytime you're acting in violence, that's the thing. For me, Chris Rock weighs 120 pounds. You know, Will Smith is whatever the hell. You know, how much of a threat is he? To me personally, even because when he sat down, he kept running his mouth to him. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. To me, that was even more embarrassing than the slap. Because you're still running your mouth after you just slapped him. You're sitting down. I felt like even him, let's say he just said that, sitting, would have shut that down in the first place, would have still been equally embarrassed. I think it would have showed him in a better light. And like I said, maybe for a lot of people, Will Smith needed to be shown as, hey, this is a human being. He's been through some stuff. He's not perfect, because he's definitely been... that perception has been there for him for a long time.
Yeah, sometimes
I think he needed a little bit of grit.
Yeah, sometimes things happen in life for a reason. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
You can imagine sitting here, how much different I think, like Eddy and Daryl on a daily basis, about stuff. I mean, it's constant. And it's like, we still get along. I mean, we don't.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to change people's
You're not
ideas.
slapping each other?
No, none of that. We work out together, too. And it's like, nah, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm just laughing because the way everything is going on today. I'm thinking Twitter, they got people that are Chris Rock fans, and people are
it's crazy.
See, look, social media created that you can say whatever you want to say, and nobody's going to slap you. They created that.
Well, and I definitely, wholeheartedly agree with Daryl. I mean, we're definitely in an environment in general where. And we'll be talking about that in the next episode, but where people say whatever the hell they want, they do whatever the hell they want, and there seems to be very little consequences. And kind of going back to the devil made me do it, it's that same type of thing. And it's that little voice that's speaking to you saying, hey, do this, do that. It's going to be fun, or it's not that bad, or you're going to don't worry about it, or they'll get over it, or all that type of stuff, which, I'm sure that was going on in Will Smith's mind in the seconds leading up to it. We've all been through there. We've all made decisions that we knew weren't the best.
One of the things is masculinity is definitely under attack right now. Guys that are, you hear about it all the time. Men don't get in touch with their feelings and all that kind of stuff. And, I get it. I mean, I'm a man's man. I just happen to be going to a different place where not too much stuff is really important like that anymore. The masculinity and all that recognition doesn't really mean a whole lot to me anymore. It did in the past, but it doesn't now. But, hey, I was walking out of a Walgreens one day, and I had my girlfriend with me, and these two guys started whistling at her, and I told them I was going to beat them to death. Mm-hmm. And both of them got scared. They walked away from me, and she looked at me like, "Are you nuts?"
Did they know that she was with you? Were you guys walking together?
We were walking together. They definitely knew we were together, and they just went off, thought I wasn't going to say anything.
That's that point where they didn't think you were a threat.
I got nose to nose with them. I said, "Well, we'll make a move, man." And then would I do that today? Maybe. I might.
I think you would.
I think I would.
I don't think you've grown that much.
But so there are levels of it. Let's give Will Smith a break. Will Smith.
And I definitely agree with that.
I think
for sure.
People ought to forgive him and let him live his life. I mean, let them work it out.
Fresh Prince was how long ago?
Yeah.
20, 30 years.
So, I mean, you have 20, 30 years in the limelight,
Oh, yeah. He's definitely been in the game over 30 years.
Always carried himself very well, always distinguished himself very well. It was a bad moment for sure that didn't shed a great light on him. I'm sure I know he thought it was a mistake. He apologized the next day. But, like you said, I mean, he's definitely being lambasted. And I just think, kind of to Bill's point, even with our differences, the whole point of Lionz Den is having these discussions, looking at these things, and being able to walk away from it. I mean, as Daryl said, I don't even know if there's anything we else have ever disagreed on.
No, you two guys are like two big. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Even something like this.
You guys talk
I know I completely understand where he's coming from, and I know he understands where I'm coming from. Right. It's just, at the end of the day, we have just a little different perspective on it.
Funny enough, though, with Bill's scenario just a moment ago, like he, got in the guy's face that whistled at his girl, many years ago. As direct and upfront and violent as I can be, I wouldn't. That doesn't bother me at all because she is with me. So it's like, whatever. Enjoy what you can see.
I felt disrespected when that happened. Now I can think about it. I was disrespected.
Yeah, it was
I wasn't even thinking of her, really. That's kind of weird, ain't it? But I was thinking of, who do these guys think they're going to...
So somebody was like, damn, man, you got a nice car. I'll beat you up. Don't like my car.
There's another aha moment, right? I wonder why that affected me.
Don't like my things.
That's what we talked
Only
about.
I can like my things.
Right?
No, for sure.
Yeah. That's the point.
Definitely.
Why did I act like that? What was that all about?
It was in the moment. Heat.
Now, when
the devil made you do it.
No, when you talk to Daryl, being in the military like Daryl was for all these years, how he was trained to do what he's trained. Daryl's Daryl, man. I mean, I could see it. Daryl's a man's man.
No, I'm very chill.
I'm going to be right behind Daryl when there's trouble.
No, I'm very chill.
There's no doubt about that. And then Danny, too, our friend of ours. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be behind Daryl because Daryl just is Daryl. I don't think anything bad about him. I know what Daryl is. It doesn't bother me.
I know you want to say something, Brad.
The one point I wanted to touch on, because we're on this topic, and I don't know if they're related, because, again, I don't really watch a lot of TV, but shortly after this Will Smith thing, was it Dave Chappelle had somebody come on stage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, again, there's this devil made me do it. You can kind of use that as a label for your actions. So now Will Smith made me do it,
right.
So where does the line get drawn between what's okay, I guess more so for like entertainers or comedy shows or whatever, I think that's where this can kind of go off the rails of, again, where do you draw that line?
And I think, and really, to be honest, it was a whole reason why I want to kind of talk about it, because, I mean, you're right. If the devil made me do it, then when I'm crappy, God made me do it. When I'm great, where's the accountability and where do you start drawing those lines? And, I think we are living in a time where lines are getting really scrambled on all kinds of different things, which, again, we'll be talking a lot more in next episode. But we're in very confusing times where you're drilled against the wall when you do something bad, kind of to Bill's point with Will Smith. And, you do something good and it seems to last a lot less. Mm-hmm. And kind of to the point of the devil made me do it, we're real quick to pull that card out. We're not so quick to pull the card out of, well, with God's grace, I made this decision, or God helped me in this, or guided me through that. Yeah. And my point is, if you're going to do one, I feel like the other's got to come. And to your point of yin and yang, if you're going to buy into the evil, you definitely got to buy into the good. And to the point of what we've been talking about, be it anxiety, depression, addiction, any of these type of things that...
We're just a cheery bunch.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. We were talking about
Lionz Den, positivity up front.
It is something, though, when you're in a bad place and things start getting darker and darker and darker for you, and you're sitting there going, man, I can't figure this out. Sometimes you wonder, where does that come from? What's going on with that? Like I could just see, well, maybe... he was going in a dark place, because I think that he even mentioned that he was in a dark place. And, you can get in that and go down and down and down. I was telling Daryl the other day about Robin Williams, man. Sober for all those years, funniest guy in the world, got this diagnosed with this illness, got in this dark place, and, he's not here anymore. I mean, is that him making that decision? Or is it some other force that, we talked, the devil, did they have him take his life? I mean, I don't know, man. Sometimes there's things that we just aren't going to understand because we're human. We're never going to understand certain things in this world, and it's probably not even best to even think about them.
It's just good to try to understand things. Because if you're trying to understand it, it's the only thing that can come from that is positivity. Trying to know something about,
Well, yeah, I get you. I'm just saying, is the human brain really that able to figure stuff out? You know what I mean?
So the human brain to me is like the ocean. We don't know anything about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think that, what was the quote, the comment? So we had a wonderful comment today that I've been laughing about actually all day.
To quote it right, I'd have to pull it up. Hold on.
It
actually turned out that was from my cousin. He shared that.
I think it was in the depression anxiety episode. I use the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, or ace of none. I've known that statement forever. It always kind of personified that you're pretty good at a lot of stuff. You're not great at anything. Mm-hmm. And in that conversation, that's kind of exactly how I felt at that time, that there were things I know that I'm good at. There's some things I know I'm very good at. Mm-hmm. Didn't feel like I was great at particularly anything. And we had a comment today. Daryl, go ahead. You want to read the quote?
Yeah, so this is actually from my cousin. We saw it today, and I didn't know it was from him until Eddy pointed it out, and I went and looked at it, and I saw his screen name, his username. But he commented on the jack of all trades comment and shared the full context of it. And it's a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And that's the full quote. And we laughed because we were like, and I knew that
I still
too.
Can't stop laughing about
when
it.
he said it, I was like, actually, yeah, that's a full quote. And a lot of people, when they hear that quote, a jack of all trades, it doesn't have a positive connotation to it because they don't know that that's the full statement regarding it. Right. People use that to kind of degrade. If you know too much about multiple things, you should probably slow down and focus on one thing. And I know where he knows that from because he was in the Army for a little bit as well. And they try to push that because you can't just be successful in those type of jobs doing one thing. So a lot of the classes that you go to teach you that they kind of train you to be like a Swiss Army knife, And so I appreciate that comment, Anthony. And I appreciate you actually watching and tuning in to our videos as well.
And I was just so like, oh my God, like I thought this was this quote all this time. And to the point of everything that we're talking about, kind of to close it all out, is you're going to find the negative where you want to find the negative, and you're going to find the good where you're going to find the good, and you're going to twist the quote the way you want to twist the quote to have the quote to have the meaning that you want to have in your life. There was something that for me, I really remembered in that state of depression, feeling that way. Like, man, people respect you. People see you're successful. I have so many good things, but I feel like I just can't get this one thing right. And that quote kept going off on my mind over and over again, which only sunk me in an even more depression. And here it was only half the quote. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with if the devil made me do it, and you want to attach to that there is evil force, there is something bad out there that's manipulating, pulling you, leading you, please accept the fact that there's also that same good. So if you're going to acknowledge that, please acknowledge the other. There's always another side to it. And that was kind of what I responded to that comment is it never ceases to amaze me how you walk a little further down the road and the road looks completely different. Mm-hmm. And that's really why I wanted to bring this topic up, because I find it amazing how often that gets said. I've read articles, I've heard people say it, I've heard all kinds of excuses. I don't know what came over me. The devil was pulling at my strings. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it, Bill. Lord knows how many times for you, all of us. Mm-hmm. But are we acknowledging that same good, that same positivity, that same good force that's pushing us and pulling us in a better direction? And that's what I would hope that, hopefully people think about from this conversation. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add, Daryl?
No, we touched on all the points for this specific topic that I wanted to speak about.
Brett?
I enjoyed it.
They were good. It's a good one.
Bill, sitting in again?
Yeah, well, every time I come here with you, I leave here and I start thinking about more stuff. I don't.
That's the goal.
It's the goal to keep me thinking. Maybe we all have evil and good in us, and we choose to grab one or the other.
I don't think that's a maybe.
I think you're 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not 100% on that yet. I'm still thinking.
I'm pushing you in that direction.
Maybe I do got a little bit of that every day. I hate to admit it.
Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.